I was out riding in the desert today, and this time on my two-wheeler, and I wanted to stop and just kind of speak to you from my heart because this week was Valentine's, and I was thinking about how Pastor Randy was saying this week in church. He asked everybody to raise their hand how many years they've been married and so on and so on. Actually, there was one couple that raised their hand that they'd been married 65 years, so kudos to them. But at the end, he asked how many of you met in church, and not one hand went up. There's like 200 plus people there. I don't know why, that just made me kind of sad. And I think a little bit of it is, I think the sadness was, we know that God is love, and apart from Him, we really can't know true love. We can't know love. So my thought was, if you're meeting people and you're married to people that don't know God, and you marry outside of the church or outside of a relationship with God, how does the marriage represent Christ? How do you learn to love your spouse? And if you don't have Christ, you really can't, because God is love, and to know true love and to operate in true love, you have to know God. So I was thinking today, how many people out there just love the idea about being married, married couples, singles. Oh, I love being married. Oh, I want to be married. But I ask you today, do you love being a husband? Do you love being a wife? Because that's part of being married, is your individual roles within the marriage. Last week I read an article, and it was saying how the Institute of Marriage represents how Christ loves the church, and how the bride loves the groom, which is Christ. So I ask you today, does your marriage represent how Christ loves the church? So when friends and family and acquaintances and strangers see you and your spouse, do they see Christ loving the church and the bride loving the groom? Because that's what they should be seeing when they see your marriage. Your marriage isn't just for companionship. Oh, I'm just married because I like sex and I like companionship, and it's fun to cook for somebody and have somebody in the house. I get lonely. Those things may occur because you're married, but that's not the purpose of marriage. It's to represent Christ, so that when unsaved people or even saved people see your marriage, they're like, man, look at that marriage. That's like amazing. The love they have for one another, the forgiveness, the compassion they show one another. So I encourage you today, as Valentine's is passing and we're beginning to finish or continue on this year, 2016, that you look at your marriage in a little bit of a different light, that you look at your marriage as a very heavy responsibility to represent Christ loving the church. So husbands, I encourage you out there, don't just be happy that you're married and that you have a partner in life. Be happy to be a husband and know what that means to be a husband. Love your wife like Christ loves the church. Women are very big into wanting to hear words. We all hear it. Oh, I showed her I fixed the lawnmower, so that means she knows I love her. No, it doesn't. You got to learn to speak it out. Jesus demonstrated His love for us, but He also verbalized His love for us. And women, don't be harsh on your husbands. Just don't be harsh. Be patient and learn to do this less to him and more of this to God. Because if you take your complaints or concerns to God first and pray about them, God will give you the wisdom when to speak. In this generation, we're all about, oh, I'm just going to share my feelings every minute, all the time. And I don't think that's always wise, to utter all your heart to your husband, because you don't need to be sharing with him every single time something bothers you, and vice versa. I'm hitting on women right now just because we have a tendency to do that. But those are times where if something's bothering you, you take it to the Lord, because God is able to speak to his heart. And the goal, obviously, is to be a couple that both hears from God and loves God and serves God. And if you don't have that, it's very difficult. But take your requests and your concerns to God first, and let him show you when it's time to speak to your husband about something, because it's better that you work it out with God first before you go blasting him all the time and you know, complaining to him about something. And because we think that we always have to be saying every single time something's wrong with our marriage, and I got to talk to my husband about it all the time, and it gets to a place that, don't make your husband be at a place where he don't want to come home. Don't make it a place where your husband just rather go out driving around the city than come home to you. You know, your home should be a sanctuary. That should be a place where both of you have peace and love, a safe zone. That he's not gonna get hit the minute he walks in the door with complaints and this is broken and this is broken. You got to learn to watch that tongue, because you're going to create the environment of your home with your tongue. And it goes both ways. Like I said, it's not just strictly women, but oh, sorry, almost dropped you. It's not just women. I mean, men can do it too, and complain about things, but building those things that cause trust and companionship and adoration for one another. Remind yourself why you got married, why you fell in love, and rekindle those things. If your physical relationship has dimmed some, there's things that you can do to get it back on track. And that one of those things is to do it. Do it. Enjoy each other. God created you both to enjoy one another. So love one another. And if you haven't had sex in a while, or things have been kind of on the boo-hoo and downhill, God can restore that. You can restore that. It's just a matter of stop hardening the heart toward one another and talking to one another and making a commitment. You know, this is stupid. We're both holding grudges. It's got to stop. It's got to stop. You know darn well deep down in your heart you want to get back to that loving relationship. You want to get back to that affection and the holding the hands and the kissing and the holding and hugging and all the stuff that goes on after the lights are out, if you get my drift. You want to get back to that. You know it. So just do it. Just do it. Stop making excuses. Put it first and make it a priority. And be each other's Valentine again. All right? So remember, your marriage represents Christ loving the church. That's your goal. That's your goal. That's a big responsibility you have. But don't let your marriage be a bad testimony of what marriage is like. We all have heard people say, oh, I don't want to get married. I've seen they all end up in divorce. They're all bad. Even Christians, they do this, they do that. And let's be a light for God in the marriage, in the relationships. And those of you that are single, I know a lot of you are going, man, I've never had a godly relationship. I don't even know how to do it right. You know, I don't even know what's normal. I don't know what feelings are that are normal. I don't know what's right to do or how to behave. That's where you look to God, because He will show you the right way to do. And just remember yourself, if you have feelings that surface, if there's affections or tenderness or anything that surfaces in your heart, just put it before the Lord and say, God, is this what Christ would feel towards the church? And if it seems like it's all fleshly and stuff, then kind of that gives you an indication of what's not right. But God will work you through it. The desire of the heart to just have a godly relationship is the biggest part. So be blessed. Marriage is an amazing thing. And those of you that have it, cultivate it. Spend time making it an awesome relationship. Invest in it. If you need counseling, do it. Do it. Go get counseling if you have to. Don't sit there and wait. Time is short. And every year, every month that goes by that you let things be dim, it's just wasting time. You could be just having an amazing relationship and be on the road to a right one. So be blessed, and more to come. God bless.